really, really making me angry. So we're live again. We never lost blog talk, so I'm not really sure what's going on here because it doesn't appear anybody's watching right now. And now the screen is getting a little clearer. That was a little strange, the weird background colors. We got Chad Martin on the line as got Jennifer Bell is on, David Dotreeve's watching, JD Davis is watching, Douglas Larson's back with us. Yeah, of course, they do this every time. It really affects our overall viewership. You know, it's really funny. This guy said, oh, you don't even have 30 viewers. And I was like, yeah, we don't have 30 viewers. So I'm going to try to bring Presley back on camera. Then I noticed about 10 minutes after this guy, trolling, watch that, I noticed, oh, we've got 32 viewers now. Oh, excellent. So now this guy can be absolutely proved wrong and I'm telling you, when we see the ends of these shows, if we'd have gotten through this show with David and Presley and everybody else listening, it would have been well over 4,000 views, but they have to cut down our view count. So that's why they shut us down in the middle of a show. But again, hey, it's all right. We got thousands of folks watching on YouTube, and we got verification for that. I believe more are watching. I believe more thousands are listening to us on Blog Talk Radio. But this is what the minimum of what they're telling us folks are watching, comrades. I mean, I guess everybody, we're certainly anti-communist here. We despise all things to do with the Jewish people and the Jewish persons, and certainly communism is one of their main tools against God and man. So I do really quick want to go through a few articles, getting back into what was going on with Trump and the Jewish mob and the overall what's going on with the president of the United States and stuff like that. So we're going to lay out some stuff. Oh, also want to talk about this headline from MSN.com. 670 ballots in a precinct with 276 voters and other tales from Georgia's primary. We know every election is rigged. Every single election is rigged. Hey, thanks, David, as always. David does the most important job on this show, which is share on our DARPANet apparatus, the Facebook pages that we have become admins and members of over the 11 or 12 years we've been working on Facebook like it's our job. So yeah, last week we had a pretty nice planetary party, multiple planets lined up with the moon as summer wanes. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about John McCain and the Keating Five, and also I believe it is we're going to get into Abbe Lowell, who is Jared Kushner's lawyer for all this Russia stuff, because he's a Russian Jewish Chabad Lubavitch agent, as we mentioned, and also Abbe Lowell is going to be an impeachment lawyer for Trump when he gets impeached, if that in fact what happens and he doesn't get thrown out of office in some way or resign. But who was Charles Keating? Keating was this guy who was a front for John McCain, and John McCain was involved in a savings and loan scandal back in the 80s. I believe it was 1985, involving Charles Keating, and he and other senators were involved in this. And now we know that Abbe Lowell is going to be added on, if not already added on, to the Trump team as far as impeachment lawyers. he's Jared Kushner's lawyer, and he was the lawyer for Charles Keating. I believe it was Abbe Lowell and not Lanny Davis, but I could be. Yeah, Charles Keating was represented by Abbe Lowell, and Charles Keating was the front man for John McCain. He was the billionaire behind John McCain, amongst others. You know, I don't know about, like, you know, I think Chad Davis, or not Chad Davis, Chad Martin. I don't know what kind of good karma it is to talk about that, but you know, I really would like to see all these guys put in front of firing squads. And when I say these guys, I mean all bar association lawyers, all government officials, because they're all guilty of treason. But yeah, I mean that's where he should have gone. John McCain, he's the godfather of ISIS, which is the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. So we got to remember when we start talking about Abbe Lowell and what he's doing now, the connection with John McCain and how John McCain really wasn't too much of an American hero. He was involved in insider trading and dirty dealing from the very beginning, and his father and grandfather were criminals as well. Yeah, we had some interesting anomalies during the rigged election, the primary election, a few days ago on Tuesday. I put up this article about Oleg Deripaska, who is the front man for Paul Manafort, who was Donald Trump's campaign manager, also was involved in that meeting with Jared Kushner, Don Trump Jr., Rob Goldstone, who is that? Natalia Veselnitskaya, the Russian government lawyer. And Rob Goldstone was kind of the main man. He's this Jewish promoter in England, and he was behind the Live Aid and Live 8 concerts. He's connected to just about every celebrity you can think of. And this operation and this meeting was put together by Emin Agalarov, who is a Russian pop singer and also a member of the Jewish mafia. So Oleg Deripaska, as we said before, his connections with Nat Rothschild. So this year, and I usually watch what's going on in Davos, Switzerland, where a lot of the criminals meet every winter in my ancestral homeland of Switzerland. And evidently Oleg Deripaska, the Jewish mobster who's fronting as the head of Rusal, which is the largest aluminum refinery in the world, the state-owned Russian aluminum company. Let's see. He had this garish party in Davos this past winter, 2018, and we just got a headline from a quote in there. I put this headline up on Facebook. Other notable guests of this Oleg Deripaska party included British financier Nat Rothschild, who is along with British politician Peter Mandelson, all Jews, by the way. All these individuals that I'm saying are Jews. Peter Mandelson, who is a perennial Bilderberger member. WPP CEO Sir Martin Stewart Sorrell, Gazprom executive, Gazprom being the Russian state-owned gas corporation. If you watch international soccer, you can't help but know exactly what Gazprom is. Sergei Vakalenko and Pomona CEO Michael Granoff. So he's having these huge parties, Deripaska, while he's basically at the heart of the Jewish mob manipulating the United States government. Let's see. We covered the anomalies. Michael Cohen, Lanny Davis, and the Russian Mafia. That's from Rolling Stone magazine from 3 days ago. We'll read a little bit about that because that includes Semion Mogilevich, and basically this client of Lanny Davis Let's see. Let's read the headlines until we get everything loaded up. Michael Cohen, of course, Jewish mobster Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's personal lawyer. We talked about Alan Weisselberg last week. Again, we're going to have to put his name in on this because Michael Cohen and Weisselberg and Felix Sater, they worked all hand in hand along with Lanny Davis. Michael Cohen, Lanny Davis, and the Russian mafia. Of course, President Trump's former fixer may not be the most notorious client of lawyer Lanny Davis because Michael Cohen is the client of Lanny Davis now. Lanny Davis is also representing a Jewish mobster called Dmytro Firtash, who has been fighting to avoid extradition to Chicago, where he faces a lot of charges. They include acting as a foreign agent. Firtash has acknowledged ties to Semion Mogilevich. It's always hard for me to pronounce this guy's name. Firtash is a front. So Firtash basically got all these Russian state companies where he was the president, and who sits on the board? Semion Mogilevich's wife. And Semion Mogilevich, he's head of the Jewish mafia, which they call the Russian mafia. So every time you hear Rachel Maddow or Anderson Cooper talking about the Russian mob, they're telling you almost the entire truth. But if they change the word Russian to the word Jewish, you'd know everything, or just about everything. Firtash has acknowledged ties to Semion Mogilevich, although the exact nature of their relationship is unknown. Let's see. Ukrainian-born gangster Mogilevich, they never say he's Jewish, appeared on FBI's 10 most wanted list during Robert Mueller's tenure. Robert Mueller is guilty of treason as well. Hey, Yasmin Cuellar is watching. Greetings, Yasmin. Christopher Matthews back. Melissa's back. Thanks for watching again, guys. Sorry about the mix-up with the cutting off of the feed for the Facebook Live. Okay, so this guy Firtash denies what the truth is. Let's see. Firtash is mentioned in a flurry of coverage that Davis received. Cohen pleaded guilty last week to criminal charges, so they're really connected. In 2010, Davis was paid $1 million a year to represent the brutally repressive dictatorship of oil-soaked Equatorial Guinea, $100,000 a month to represent the Ivory Coast, then on the brink of civil war. So this guy is really just, this is where we talk about with the lawyers. The lawyers are really responsible for all this stuff. Chris Matthews says, Facebook just shadow banned my main account. I posted a picture of Auschwitz before and after, adding their smokestacks, so I'm guessing that's why they shadow banned me. Yeah, okay, so yeah, we know all that stuff about the Holocaust is just a big hoax. It's just a big lie. Or else they just, if it wasn't, they'd allow us to look stupid by pointing out what the facts are. If the facts aren't what they say they are, they could easily say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, like we do all the time. Davis' client roster puts him in the same league as Paul Manafort, Trump's former campaign chairman, who also made a living representing dictators and Ukrainian oligarchs. Ukrainian, just replace the word Ukrainian with Jewish. Perhaps it's not a surprise that Manafort, who was convicted last week on 8 counts, also did business with Firtash in 2008 while Manafort was working in Ukraine with the pro-Russian president Viktor Yanukovych. Firtash company Group DF agreed to commit $112 million to Manafort's vision for Bulgari Tower, a $1.5 billion skyscraper project in Midtown Manhattan. Wow, do you think the Jewish mob has any ties to any of these contracts or any of these agreements? Give me a break, folks. Wake up. It's all there for you to see. You can read the rest of that article in Rolling Stone magazine, and they're working off of another article that was posted on the 23rd basically exposing the exact same thing. So basically, the guy who wrote this in Rolling Stone is just plagiarizing somebody else from, I think it's called a Conservative Review or something like that. Trump and his advisors are preparing for possible impeachment battle by considering hiring Jared Kushner's lawyer. Who is that? Lanny Davis, like we said. So that's where we are here with all this stuff. And there you have it. It's all there for everyone to see. I'm glad we got a little bit more detail about the ongoing Russian mob operation that we've been talking about, Jewish mob, for 3 years. That these guys are mobsters. That there's only one way to take out mobsters. And the FBI is run by mobsters. The CIA is run by mobsters. The FSB and the GRU are run by mobsters. The Mossad are the top mobsters of all the other intelligence agencies run by mobsters. And so is the MI6. And it's time that we handle these guys like these mob bosses who are brought up on all these charges. Everybody knows that they're guilty, but they still are somehow, obviously, in an irrefutable manner, manipulating the heads of the government of the United States and the government of Russia and the governments of Europe. They have the heads of these governments on their puppet strings. But these guys are mobsters. Nat Rothschild needs to be in front of a firing squad. Oleg Deripaska in front of a firing squad. Vladimir Putin in front of a firing squad. They're all guilty of war against the American people. And same with Donald Trump. He's guilty of treason. So that's what we have here. And it's plain as day. It's plain as day. And when only a few folks are saying this, and it's so obvious and irrefutable, you got to really wonder what's going on. What are all the other interesting things that folks are wasting their time on? What are all the other interesting things? When we expose Freemasonry, so-called modern-day Scottish Rite Freemasonry is a limited hangout, controlled opposition of that same Jewish mob that controls all the governments and controls the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church, we expose them as we have a religious organization here. It's called the people of God. We have a written out a document of faith where we specifically call out the synagogue of Satan and the Catholic Church as the whore of Rome. We put that out there. What you think that we just? This has been this is multi-generational. This warfare. Do you think that I just figured out? Oh my God, the Catholic Church, they just launder money and rape children and cover that up. Oh, and the U.S. government, wow, that's all they do is launder money and rape children. Oh, and these Chabad Lubovichers, oh, that's all they do is rape children and launder money and traffic humans and traffic drugs and traffic weapons and unlawfully control governments and take away our God-given rights that can't be taken away, but we're punished for exercising our God-given rights. So that's what we have here. It's a little bit of the same thing over and over again that we talk about, but it's very important. These guys, they need to be taken out and they need to be taken down lawfully. As we're saying, look, you know, when the Secret Service attempted to frame me, acting as if I was some sort of, you know, danger, when I would openly on international television say that all government officials are guilty of treason and therefore they're all subject to what? The death penalty. I didn't write the Constitution. I'm just not stupid enough to look out and see what's happening with my own two eyes and pretend that everything the government does is not fraudulent and treasonous, because everything the government does is fraudulent and treasonous. And why? We said we're going to explain to you the who, why, and how. Because it's the mob, it's the mafia that runs the government. So when the mafia runs the government, are they going to be involved in racketeering? Yes. Are they going to be involved in murder? Are they going to be involved in staged shootings? Yes, they're going to do all of those things. And who is guarding the hen house? Who's the fox guarding the hen house? It's the cops. Again, today in Richmond, Commonwealth's attorney Mike Herring says the shooting of Marcus David Peters was acceptable, and these cops who were surrounding this guy, who was completely naked, running back and forth across the street, back and forth of Interstate 95, the largest highway in the United States, that this guy was naked, but yeah, they were completely justified in shooting and killing this guy, which was an order from the chief of police on down. The chief of police gave the order to shoot the guy. Don't think ever that these cops can get away with shooting folks on the street without the Commonwealth's attorney and the police chief telling them shoot to kill with these guys. So that's what happened. Hey, John Elkin is watching. Has Chris Post been blocked before? Yeah, we've been blocked before. Yeah, then he said, then Chad Martin says, yeah, maybe that's a stupid question. No stupid questions, but you know, I do want to go through what we were talking about before. I sent you, Presley, the hey, David Dotry said it's been a great show, a great guest, and great discussion. So thanks, David. I sent you it was the specific Brotherhood of Light lessons, the complete set of 21 courses, CC Zane, and it went to a certain spot when you click on that the link that I sent you, and we talked a little bit before about it starts going through certain Masonic teachings in there. Did you look at all? Did you get a chance to look at that link that I sent you?
Not yet, but I'm about to.
Oh, right on. Well, so I'm going to read some of this stuff, and we'll start. I think we'll start from where the where the link started, and that started at the Sublime Knights Elected. And this degree is based upon, and this is from Brotherhood of Light Lessons by C.C. Zane, a.k.a. Elbert Benjamin, a.k.a. Benjamin Williams. He was, I read everything I can get my hands on from Elbert Benjamin, a.k.a. C.C. Zane. This is from Sublime Knights Elected. This degree is based upon the 22nd major arcanum of the tarot. So when we talk about astrology, I think the tarot is equally important. The tarot is the basis of the Torah and the Bible and so forth and so on. It corresponds astrologically to the planet Pluto. Solomon rewarded 12 of the masters for their efforts to apprehend the assassins of Hiram Abiff by conferring upon them this degree and giving them the command over the 12 tribes of Israel. They represent the 12 signs of the zodiac. So we've been through on previous shows the representatives of the 12 tribes of Israel, and that they are representations of the 12 signs of the zodiac. The zodiacal circle crossed by the equinox and solstice is the symbol of the world. By removing the circle of the spiritual portion of the symbol, we have the cross of earth in its most material aspect. If the upper bar of the cross be removed, the result is the primitive phallic symbol. We've been through that as well tonight. So a lot of this is coming full circle, literally and figuratively. Of creative energy, the phallic the phallic symbol of creative energy. Hey, J.D. Davis, I saw that you mentioned earlier that you're reading Man and His Symbols now because of the show. That's a great book to read, and I recommend it to everyone. If the upper bar of the cross be removed, the result is the primitive phallic symbol of the creative energy directed to material ends. The lower bar or vertical line indicates the sun in Capricorn. At the at the winter solstice. It represents man spending his energy for material advantage, the worldly, wise, and spiritually foolish. By reversing the T so that the lower bar is missing, we have the representation of the sun at the summer solstice as it enters Cancer, the emblem of the upper Pluto influence, signifying the virile energies, virile energies directed to spiritual construction. And herein lies the paradox of the 22nd card of the tarot, a card few students have understood. For the man to the world, for the man that to the worldly may seem foolish, may have really reversed the Tao, come under the upper Pluto influence, and being a true sage, ignores the things that many spend their energies to obtain. The candidate in this decree is required to swallow a piece of the heart of Hiram Abiff, which is presented to him in a trowel by the master. He is told that he may swallow it without injury if he is a faithful Mason, but that it will not remain in the body of one perjured. The heart is the zodiacal sign Leo, symbol of affection through the power of which Hiram is again united to Solomon. Amen. The trowel is an instrument used to bind together. The trowel binds. It's used to bind together. Its form represents the two souls occupying one form, and overshadowed by a common ego. The candidate partaking of the heart on the trowel symbolically enacts. So the candidate partaking of the heart on the trowel symbolically enacts the permanent reunion of soulmates. The reward, so Hiram Abiff and Solomon are soulmates, obviously. The reward of the spiritually wise, whose efforts are denoted by the reversed T astrologically, it is a reunion of the sun and the moon in Leo, which is the sign that rules the house of love in a natural chart. Amen. Okay, so
Too. Oh, and there's one thing too that I'd like to comment on that. By my findings, by having the sun beginning in Aquarius at the vernal equinox, that actually places Leo on the exact opposite side of Aquarius, towards the descending side. Which I found that interesting with what you're talking about. With it, well, with the sign of Leo being correlated to the into love, to creativity, to basically, one's own inner child. And also, I noticed that as it was talking about the sun in Capricorn at the winter solstice, from what I've seen, the sun actually enters Taurus at the winter solstice, whereas it enters Scorpio at the summer solstice. So there's a slightly different meaning to that. Same sort of thing still, with Taurus. Taurus is also it's an earth sign. It's very materialistic. It's very based. It's very very sensual, very materialistically based, based on the very physical sensations, and on not having property. Essentially that this is our property. This is our place in life, and not caring about how others feel. Compare, this is, with being associated with winter solstice being more so the downside of oneself, compared to the summer solstice in Scorpio. And Scorpio is all about digging down to the roots and finding the cause of things. It's very linked to the occult. So, and also Scorpio is a sign of leadership, with its two sacred animals being the scorpion and the eagle. And that's where we are progressing towards, sort of like the astrological North Node and South Node, where we're moving away from the South Node, we're moving away from the Taurus energies, moving towards the Scorpion energies, digging through the BS and pulling out only the truth to the surface. By, and we can easily do so by spreading our message through the internet, as over here Aquarius dictates.
Right on. Yeah, excellent analysis. And well, let's see, how much time do we have? We have a little bit of time left. So let's go through a little bit. We're going to go through the Grand Master Architect degree, and then we're going to get into the connections. We're going to get into a little gematria, and then the connections between the Scottish Rite School of Freemasonry, or organization or lodge of Freemasonry, and the interconnections between all those of English, Irish, and Scottish descent, and the Egyptian mystery schools. So we'll go through the Grand Master Architect. This degree is said to have been founded by King Solomon as a school of architects where deserving craftsmen might receive proper instruction. These Grand Master Architects are men who have mastered the various occult and lucidic sciences and have been found worthy to serve as masters to struggling neophytes. The chapter is decorated white hangings, with white hangings sprinkled with red flames, symbolizing purity combined with fiery enthusiasm. The 5 orders of architecture are present, symbolizing the 4 kingdoms of elemental life. Man's rightful place is that of master architect, directing the 4 elemental realms of life in their work of cosmic construction. The apron is stone-colored to indicate work to be done upon the earth, and has a star on it to signify man as the chief of that work. The jewel is a gold medal with the 5 orders of architecture, a star, and a case of mathematical instruments on each side. It symbolizes man measuring planetary angles and positions in the zodiac and utilizing his knowledge of astrological cycles, forces, and angles to direct the elements in their work of assisting evolutionary progress. The candidate makes a tour of the room, which represents the zodiac, and draws the exact plan of it to illustrate his ability to compute astrological positions and map the heavens. There is a star in the north with 7 other stars around it to represent the polar star, the quote-unquote rock of ages, about which swings the serpentary of naked eye planets. And that's septenary, like septenary, septenary of naked planets. It is called the guiding star of the order, for it is symbolical of the immutability, and that's immutability, the immutability of divine law, and is the access of all mundane reckoning. Okay, there you go. That's a lot there. So read behind me, or listen to me what I'm saying. Listen to it a few times, because that's a lot there. The chapter is said to be opened on the first instant, the first hour, the first day, the first year when Solomon commenced the temple. This is according to the prescribed rules of astrology, as a chart of the heavens for the instant commencing an enterprise indicates its future success or failure, even as a chart of the instant of a physical birth reveals a child's physical destiny. The sign is made by sliding the right hand into the palm of the left, clenching the fingers of the right hand and tracing a plan with the thumb in the other's left hand, looking at him as if taking dictation. It refers to man and woman lighted and taking advantage of astrological conditions to promote their interests. It indicates that from their knowledge of astrology, they're able to formulate a plan of mutual effort. The token is given by interlacing the fingers of the right hand with those of the brother's left and placing the free hand on the hip. Okay, the token is given by interlacing the fingers of the right hand with those of the brother's left and placing the free hand on the hip. The united hands are at a level with the head. It indicates united transmutation from Scorpio to Aries, or the sun resurrected with the moon on the vernal equinox. Okay, so we got about 12 minutes to go. We've had a really good show. It's been excellent. Thanks to David Dotrieve as always. We'll have David on the Facebook Live next week. Thanks to a couple guys we didn't get to. Laquan Boone. I don't think Jesus was made up. JD Davis says Facebook signed me out, and I had to sign back in. Bruce J. Garcia is watching. Michael Dick is watching. Thanks to Michael Dick for everything that he does for the militia. It's much appreciated. Yeah, we want to thank Farouk Chowdhury for donating to the militia. Thanks a lot to, again, I think it's, let me see, what was it? FAQAH Chowd. I think it's FAQAH Chowdhury. So thanks for donating. Let me make sure that that's what that is. Yeah, we really want to thank Fakhar, FAQUHAR Chowdhury, and that's CHOWTDHURRY. Thanks a lot for the donation. We're gonna cover maybe next week the Knights of the Ninth Arch and the Degree of Perfection. And I want to close up tonight. I'm trying to find the location. Yeah, I think I'm getting near it. Of where C.C. Zane talks about chapter 13, historical degrees. And there you see, it's a nice picture up there. There you see what I'm looking at. So there's lots of symbology there. This is what we're studying. And I don't really have much respect for most Freemasons that I know. As we say every week, I'm the worshipful Grand Master of all the Freemasons. And if you have the knowledge and the standing, you can say the same thing. It doesn't really mean anything. God creates man and man creates government. The highest form of any political position, higher than any king, higher than any president, or higher than any 33rd degree Freemason, is man, creation of God and God's image. God is much higher. But we do like to comprehend ancient masonry and the larger subject of the ancient mystery school religions of Egypt and Babylon and before that, you know, of all time, of all cultures. Let's see. Kalash Koja is watching. Greetings. So we'll go. This is Course 4, Ancient Masonry, Chapter 13, from Brotherhood of Light Lessons, the complete set of 21 by C.C. Zane. In connection with the historical degree, mention should be made of the origin of both Scottish Rite Masonry and York Rite Masonry. I do not wish it implied that I agree with Albert Churchward in archaeological matters. he doesn't necessarily agree with him on archaeological matters, as C.C. Zane. But as he seems to be correct in his opinion of the origin of these two orders of Masonry, and is himself a high-degree Mason, I take the liberty of quoting from his Arcana of Freemasonry. So Albert Churchward has a number of good books, and one of them is called Arcana of Freemasonry. He does books on signs and symbols, just like Carl Jung. Chevalier Ramsey stated that modern Masonry had its beginning in the Society of Architects, founded in Scotland under the protection of King Robert Bruce, and the title of Ancient and Accepted Masons of the Scottish Rite may have possibly been formed in Scotland there and then. But if that is so, we must trace the origin of this order of Knights Templar who fled to Scotland, and through them to the ancient mysteries practiced in the East, from whence these Templars received them. It is well known that one of the charges made against Jacques de Molay and his associates was that they used sacred rites in their initiation. Their 4 oaths are well known, but who knew their rites of initiation? The aim of the Society of Architects was to perpetuate the ancient order of the temple. So they continued to use their initiations of members, symbols, signs, and some parts of the initiatory rites which have been obtained in the East. But they only knew 3 degrees out of the 7 lesser and 10 greater. The next question is, from whence did the Templars receive those symbols and their esoteric meaning, in which we plainly trace the doctrines of the old Egyptians? Question mark. No doubt from the Christians who, like the Emperor Julian, the Bishop Synesius, Clement of Alexandria, and many other philosophers, had been initiated into some of the mysteries by the priests of Egypt before converting to Christianity. In this way, we can trace how part of the religious mysteries of Egypt, signs and symbols, etc., came to Scotland. Speaking further concerning the Egyptian, he says, there were also many who crossed over to Europe from Egypt. That's what we talk about every single week. Every single week we've been talking about this. And spread from Italy into France, who possessed and clung to the true doctrines, endured torture, and some even death by the early Roman priests who tried to usurp the temporal power by destroying the spiritual ideas. And yet these brothers would rather suffer death than give up their secrets and beliefs. Many of these migrations can be traced through Europe and finally to Scotland. Okay, here we go. Relative to York Rite Masonry, Churchward continues, as regards the origin from the Druids, I have given in signs and symbols of the primordial man the proofs of the origin of the Druids and where they came from. They were high priests of Egypt who left the mother country at the early part of the solar cult. At the early part of the solar cult. I think some folks call that Atonism. Atonism. And were therefore well versed in both the 7 lesser mysteries and the 10 greater mysteries. And these practiced their religious rites in England until the Edict of Canute prohibited their open worship. Canute reigned from 1015 to 1036. To evade persecution, they resorted to private meetings and secret celebrations. I do not entertain any doubt that they formed the first so-called lodges in England as a cloak to screen their religious rites and ceremonies and to keep them as pure as they had received them originally from their parent sources in Egypt. Okay, there's much more to get to, but we've got about 3 minutes to go in the show. We're gonna close that out. But yeah, any final thoughts on that information, Presley?
Yeah. Well, earlier speaking about the polar star, and I've heard about that every 9,000 years these circumpolar stars change. Right now it is Polaris, and located in the Little Dipper or Ursa Minor, and about there's about 9,000 years ago, or it was at least I know that there's a 9,000 year difference, but the previous one to that during the age of not during the age of Pisces, but the previous one was located in Draco. The star Thuban was a circumpolar star, and before then is a summer triangle, consisting of the stars from the three bird constellations: Cygnus, Aquila, and Lyra or Lyra. Which Lyra is not just Lyra; it's also the hawk. But I'll probably get more into that next week. And I'll also like to get into the origins of this great evil of the New World Order. I'd like to know more about. Well, I'd like to know more and discuss more about the whole reptilian agenda, because that seems to be a very prominent thing regarding the New World Order and the origins of where this...
I don't know, like when we talk about reptilian, I don't really necessarily ascribe to that, except for, you know, folks stuck maybe in the reptilian brain, the brainstem, the specific part of the brain that is referring to the reptilian mindset, cold-blooded, unhuman. I don't mean to say anything bad about actual reptiles, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that that these non-humans are like a human reptile hybrid or whatever. I think that's kind of a distraction, but yes, they're certainly they get it. You mentioned the Draco and the dragon bloodlines and all this other stuff. Now there's the mythology of the Merovingians, that they are descended from the sea monsters, sea creatures, dragons. There's a lot of dragon symbology involved in biblical and Freemasonic lore, and there's of course the dragon that guards the city of London and so forth. But yeah, I just want to make clear, at least I'm not talking about any sort of actual reptilian mythology. Well, it's only reptilian mythology that I'm referring to here. So it's been a really good show. Thanks to Presley Benson. Thanks to David Dotrieve, as always. I think we covered a lot of information and got pretty specific. And without even really intending to, a lot of the stuff that we were talking about at the beginning, it comes full circle with what we're describing and the religion of the stars and how that's all religions. And so I just want to thank Presley Benson again. Thank David Dotrieve again. Clifford Everhart's going to be back next week. We're looking forward to Clifford's got some good video he's uploading, in the process of uploading, regarding a staged event where gun grab in San Francisco by the San Francisco Filth, aka San Francisco Police Department. And we just want to thank all of our supporters and remind everyone that there is no positive energy that's coming out of anything politically, unless one is calling for the lawful abolition of this criminal government. So thanks to Dylan Schramm, thanks Ronnie Silcott. But I think we're going to sign off tonight and look forward to having y'all back next week. And Presley, thanks for coming on. And anytime you wish to come back on, you feel free. You got the open invitation. A lot of our listeners really liked what you had to say, and we really like your perspective on astrology and tying that into the issues and problems we have on Earth today, both spiritually and politically. So thanks to everyone again. This is Chris Dorsey of the Virginia Militia signing off. Peace and God bless. See you next week. Thanks.